It's awesome. Okay. You may know my guest, Dane Jackson, as that guy in the pink boat, also known as the GOAT of whitewater kayaking, or the multiple world champion, or the guy who not only runs the hardest drops in the world, but does tricks over them. In the world of whitewater, he really doesn't need an introduction, and I'm really excited for him to be here. Thanks, Dane. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and there's so much more we could say in your bio, and you essentially come from the royal family of whitewater kayaking, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, we'll get into some. Maybe we'll get into that later. I
Yeah.
like to start all of these with the same question, which is, when I say discomfort zone, what does that mean to you, or what comes up for you?
Um, Comfort zone for me is probably the feeling of there was something that we always like build up, like you're leading up to moments and you're leading up to events, waterfalls, rivers, life events, dates, whatever it is. You're leading up to it. For me, the comfort zone, particularly around kayaking, is when there's no more time to second guess choices or things like that. Like, you've
Mm,
committed peeling out and you're about to run the waterfall, or you're about to drop in for your final ride in the competition, or things like that. I would say my comfort zone is right at that moment where you're past the point of no return. So there's no point on what ifs or anything. At that point, you're committed and you have to fully engage on whatever the challenge is that you're about to do, whether it's the World Championships or a waterfall or a back freewheel or something. It's right at that moment where, okay, you're locked in, and now, I wouldn't be in this position if I didn't feel 100% confident in my ability to do it right. And so the comfort zone for me is that moment where I lock into a challenge, freestyle, waterfalls, a first ascent, whatever it is. And that for me is because all that's ahead of me is whatever the challenge that I decided was worth to put myself in.
yeah, got it. That's awesome. So that's your comfort zone, right? Like that's when you
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah.
right on. And then what would be like your discomfort zone, like where you're out of your comfort zone? What does that look like for you?
Um, Well, I try not to have moments like that as much as possible. Like I feel like I'm pretty I adapt as much as I can. I try to handle whatever is thrown at me in the best way. I'd say the only discomfort zone, if I had to put something on it, would be where there's something that isn't going in a way that I would like it to go, or something that's happening that but I actually have no control over. Because I a lot of times anything that's we can control as much as we can. So I think the discomfort zone for me is there's something that's going in a direction that I'm not thrilled on, but I actively cannot do anything about it. A lot of times you can do things, but I think that's the only time I can really think of. But for the most part, I find that anything that's bothering me, or something I could do better, whatever it is, I find that there's often ways that you can find ways to approach it and fix the situation or whatever it is. So I would say
Mm,
I don't. I actually, as you can tell, I have an easier answer for comfort zone than discomfort zone, because
love
I
it.
try my best not to have those moments. But I guess that's the only thing I could really say. But I'm not. Yeah, I find that one harder to answer because I generally try to feel that if there's something that's not where I want it to do the best I can to pivot or adapt or change it to
Right.
be as good as it can be.
Yeah, that's so what are the strategies you use when something is going in a direction that you don't want it to go in and you're trying to shift or adapt? Like do you have like something you turn to, whether it's a mental strategy or something you say to yourself or an action you take?
Um, I think, uh, well, it really depends on what the situation is, whether, it's in kayaking or off water, like you have to react differently. Um, I mean, it depends on kind of the situation, I guess. But for me, I guess for the most part, I just try to actually just, a lot of the times when things aren't going in a certain direction, we're already past things that can't be changed or controlled. So it's more just seeing, like, if it was, a bad situation on the river, you can't just go back and say, hey, that person don't run the rapid, like things are happening real time. It's to stay calm and assess and
Mhm.
react as appropriately as you can, and even off water and things like that. So I guess for me, it's focus more on trying to react as good as possible and make the situation better as well as I can, and not worry about if only this, like, like I
Right.
that this might be a really stupid example for some reason to come to head, is like I really don't care when flights are delayed, like, or things like that, or there's this inconvenience of flight
Sure.
being delayed. There's all these people like whatever, and I'm like, well, there's nothing we can do. Like it's not like they wanted this to happen. Like it
Right.
happened. And so by just staying calm, it's like, okay, the flight's delayed. Maybe it's so delayed you have to get a hotel, whatever it is. But I'm not sitting around going, this is the worst thing ever. It's more just, okay, like now what? Like how do I just adapt? And I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that's like the example that really funneled into what you're referring to,
No.
but I think in the end, for me, it's just more about like figuring out the position you're in and just using any tools you have at your disposal, mentally, whatever, to try to pivot and just make the situation better in any way.
Hey, I'm Anna Levesque, your host for the Discomfort Zone podcast. I'm a former pro kayaker turned mental agility coach, and I help paddlers grow their courage, confidence, and flow both on the water and in life. If you're loving this conversation, make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you listen, and check out my YouTube channel where you'll be able to find the unedited video versions of these conversations. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/at Anna Levesque. You'll also find great video content, instructional content on mindset and paddling that you won't find anywhere else. So check it out, and I look forward to connecting with you there. Yeah, what I hear is like presence. So being really present with what's going on and not like resisting it, because that can be really tough. Like if you're in a tough situation on the river or off the river in life, a lot of our suffering comes from wanting things to be different when there's like no control. You can't make them different. The only thing you can do is respond, like you're saying. So, yeah, I hear that you're really like to be present and assess and yeah, not resist the way things are and look at what you can control. Yeah, and I really loved your description of your comfort zone because I love that feeling of like leaving the eddy and like you're in it, you're going. There's something really powerful about that. And it sounds like, I think we all prepare hopefully for the for the river situations when we're like running something or going into competition. And it sounds like you prepare a lot like that. It sounds like that's one of your superpowers, or at least that's what I heard in your answer. So what do you do to prepare, like to run something big or to go into finals at the world championships? What are some things you do?
I would say and I feel like it's definitely something that comes up a lot because a lot of people want to push themselves and take that next step and things like that, whether an event or a waterfall or something that they feel like they're progressing themselves. I would say for me, my strongest preparation comes from putting like actually working through the things that will build up the foundation to have the skills I need to handle a situation as good as possible. So like, for a waterfall, like, the back freewheels, the waterfall, the 100 footer, the
Hmm.
big whitewater that I run, things like that. I don't learn how to handle that whitewater through running whitewater of the similar caliber or something like that. I learn by paddling more whitewater that I am comfortable on so I can focus on different techniques and things like that, or ways the river behaves. Because I find that when you're really scared or you're doing something that you're actually nervous about, you end up uh, you're just focused on getting to the bottom safely and all that. Like, so when you're scared, you're just focused on that. But I'm not saying you're not scared when you're on the easier whitewater, but you're able to focus on what the river's doing, what you're
Yep.
doing, what the boat, like how the boat's behaving. And, for things like big waterfalls, you don't learn how to run a 100 footer by running 90 footers. You get really good at dialing in that first 30 feet on 40 footers, 50 footers, things like
Yeah.
that. And then you just get that foundation ready for when you run a 100 footer. And then the world championship, you know, there's a reason why we practice the routine that we want to do before the event. So that way, we spend a week, 2 weeks, like you're dialing in the feature. We come up with our routine ideally a couple of weeks before, and you might have to like adapt and change it, but you need to start figuring out, you need to feel like a rhythm. Like there's a reason why
Hmm.
gymnastics, like floor routines, they're not just winging it the whole time. They know
Right.
exactly how they're flowing move to move, where it's the same thing. Like the best plan you can have in freestyle kayaking for like worlds and stuff is a full plan, so that way you know exactly what tricks you've done. By practicing for weeks, where you usually end up in the feature after a certain trick. Or as you start training
Right.
your routine, you start to kind of figure out, oh, I actually realize that I can add this trick in between these two tricks or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And that allows you to even if you miss a trick, it allows you to flow through the routine. You're like, okay, I go back to this sets me up for this trick, and you flow through. For me, preparation is con- being in controlled environments to practice things that they will come up a time. There's a reason why I practice dropping in a hole for fun or without a paddle. Like growing up, it was always like we go hand surfing at Rock Island, and now if I lose
Yeah.
my paddle, I'm not sitting there in panic. You're
Right.
not gonna be calm, cool, calm, and collected when you lose your paddle in somewhere you don't want to. That's not where you learn how to hand paddle and things like that. So it's
Yeah.
more for me. Preparation is just is finding ways to kind of just incorporate it in your everyday, and that way you're ready for when the real moment comes, that you're ready to help out or
Yeah. And
whatever it is.
sure. Yeah. And it sounds like through all of that prep and just it's hard moves in easy water. It sounds like you're probably pretty okay with failing, like trying stuff, missing it, because I think it's easy to see someone like you who paddles like exceptionally well, like the best. And you put stuff in. Well, Andrew, my husband, is like this as well to me,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like I watch
Oh
him and
yeah.
it's just like, and it's you don't always see like the failures, right? And people, Clay is the same way. When I had Clay on this podcast, I love that he talked about this, like trying stuff. And like some days he's practicing one part of a trick, and he's like, if someone didn't know me, they might think I'm a terrible kayaker. But he's like, I don't let that get to me. I'm just trying stuff, like you said, going into the hole, no paddle. You probably got trashed a few times, like, doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
I also think your husband's a phenomenal paddler.
Yeah, he is. Um, so yeah, that's cool. I think that that's important. We've talked about this on my podcast before. And I think for paddlers out there or anyone doing whatever sport, and I'm talking to myself because I would get hung up on that. I would all, throughout, that's why I didn't like competing. Actually, it was like my own hang up of, uh, like feeling bad about myself if I failed or if something didn't work out. And so I really think that that's an important thing to just let go of. And I'm grateful that there's so many folks out there doing that and just being like having fun, which is what you do. Like you have so much fun out there, you know?
I do. I do. I mean, it can't be the failure side of things. Is I think uh, I'm trying to remember when it was, but I think Kobe Bryant had like just one clip that I would love to see. That was he was like, so you do the work, you control what you can control, and if it goes great, great. Tomorrow you're gonna wake up and do the same thing over and over. If it doesn't go well, you're gonna wake up and do the same thing over and over. So like that's
Right.
I always like that. Kind of feel like it applies to 50 million different things, but um, for me, like it sucks to lose. It sucks when a rapid doesn't go well. All those things, but the as long as you actually put in the preparation that you felt that you could put in, but also you were doing it for the right reasons, not for the sake of bragging rights or just
Right.
like the sake of being able to say you did it. If you did it for the idea that you actually like the idea of the challenge, whatever it may be, then if it goes great, it's that much better. And of course, having fun as well. But if it goes great, it's that much better. If it goes wrong, you can then just be like, okay, clearly I need to work on this or that. And I always find that something with mainly like for competition, not so much like rapid and stuff, but like competition, it's so great to win. It's so fun to win. And especially when you're having fun, you're hanging out with everyone, winning is
Yeah.
awesome. But losing does suck, and you're like, okay, now I got to do better, and I'm going to do better next time. But what also sometimes is nice to remind yourself is that feeling that you were chasing, someone else also got that, someone you might like, love, or like, and hang out with. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying I enjoy losing. I want to win as much as possible, but I put in as much work to do the best I can. So that way, if I win, fantastic, and have the best time possible. And even when I lose, I'm still having the best time possible leading up to the event. And I'm also still thrilled for the other person that got to have that feeling that we were chasing, and then get them in the next one and things like that. So and that's a big part of me why, like, I make sure to make the whole process of the preparation, the training, whether river running, waterfalls, or competition, the whole process for me is enjoyable, and the competing is enjoyable. I don't find it that stressful. I just find it fun because I'm out there having a great time with everyone. And then if I win, it's just that much better. And if I lose, it's a lot easier to digest because it's like I just didn't put it together. Someone else did. Happy for them, and I'll get them in the next one. But I have the
Yeah.
whole process is very fun rather than just the idea of completing something or winning something is the only time that I'll enjoy
Yeah.
myself.
Right, because then competition would be really not fun
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
if you were only stoked every time you won. Granted, you win a
Yeah.
lot, but I know for myself when I was competing in freestyle, I was in the top 3 a lot, and if I wasn't, I would get all down on myself. I'm here to say it was not fun. It's way more fun if you're just enjoying the process. So yeah,
Understand that. The competitions,
yeah,
they put a pressure and a like a it's okay. Like sometimes just going joy kayaking is almost more enjoyable. So I can't
it's all
can't blame you for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I loved everything around competition. I did, just like you're
Right.
saying, the people traveling. And when I was on the podium, yes, I enjoyed it. I did,
Yeah. Okay.
I think that having yeah. Anyways, that was my process and journey, and everyone's different, and I really found my voice with the instruction part, and
Yeah. So you've
and
been killing
making
with
an
that.
impact with that. So, yeah, sometimes fighting it also, if you're not having fun doing something, it's like maybe look around, what does light you up within the sport, because so many different people enjoy this sport, and there's so many things you can do to have fun and have an impact also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No. Um and sometimes even just the not having fun doesn't mean that the whole structure is broken for you. Just maybe it's just a mental
right,
shift or something like that. But
absolutely,
yeah, no, it's all.
yeah,
I mean, it's everyone likes what they like. There's no right or wrong answer as long as you're just doing it because you actually enjoy it. And it's not. And then just because you enjoy something doesn't mean that it's always enjoyable. But you get through the
right,
time that it's less enjoyable because you know overall that you're excited about whatever you're pursuing.
yeah. Okay, so I want to come back to something you said earlier, because it is very interesting. You were saying how it's rare that you feel that you're in your discomfort zone,
Mhm.
and so a while ago, I saw on the internet, some folks were talking, and they were really like, "Dane has no fear. Like, there's no way Dane
Right.
has fear."
Right.
And I thought to myself, wow, that's very interesting thought, because
Mhm.
Dane is human. So I would just like to hear from you. Like, do you experience fear? How do you face fear if you do? And if you don't, that's really interesting. I'd love to hear more about that. So do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, no, I mean that it is always one of the funniest aspects of doing the stuff that I do is everyone, even like obviously non-kayakers, they're like, oh, he must not be afraid, uh, or but even like kayakers or vice versa, whatever it is, everyone's always like, oh, he doesn't have any fear, and I'm like, no, I'm actually scared 99.9% of the time, like maybe it's exaggeration, but like I am scared even on the simpler days, like there's always is an extreme sport, and even like in the competition sometimes get a little nervous and things like that, but particularly when it comes to the bigger stuff like waterfalls, big water, and things like that, there's always that element of what things could go wrong, or maybe it's something you get hurt, or maybe doing something that I haven't pushed myself to do, like a bigger back freewheel and things like that. But I'm scared a lot more than people think. I would say, like I said, like 90% of the time, because and I actually think that instead of it being like, oh, just fearless, whatever, the reason why I think a big part of what I've been able to do well and make the best decisions possible is by being afraid. Because, for something like a big waterfall or a big rapid, the way I try to put it is I only run things not for the sake, or I only do things, run things only because I actually like the idea of the challenge that it is, or there's something about the puzzle of a waterfall or a rapid or something like that, and even the simpler things. And what I like, I look at a rapid and I look at a waterfall, and I think I like the idea of trying to see if I can handle that challenge. And if it goes great, then that's awesome. But it allows me to feel like the fear allows me to look at it right and safely. Like, because if I wasn't
Mhm.
afraid, that means I'm probably not paying attention, because as an extreme sport, even the simplest things have a way of potentially going wrong or getting hurt. And a lot of the time, most of those big injuries, most of those big accidents and stuff are on things that people get comfortable on. It's rarely on the things where people are going to the next level. And the reason for that is because you get comfortable and you let your guard down. So for me, fear allows me to make sure that I'm looking at something, giving it the respect it needs, and looking at it like, okay, I'm fearful because of a reason. Oh, it's because it's a 100-foot waterfall. Once you get above a certain height, there's a lot less room for error. Any
Yeah.
height, there's no room for error. Or, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I could end up going into that sieve, or I could get stuck in that hole, or whatever it is. The fear allows me to look at everything and be like, okay, there are things that could go wrong, whether injury or worse. But even though that's there, the challenge of that rapid or waterfall or whatever I'm looking at, I'm still excited to approach that challenge. But what I'm going to
Mhm.
do is, okay, I'm accepting that risk, but I'm also going to do what I can to, with the crew around me, put me in a position of the best success, even if things go wrong when it comes to safety, and,
Mhm.
throw bags in certain places, and surround myself with the people that can help out when the time comes. So I think for me, like, I'm fearful a lot more often than people think. But I generally feel like if there is something that actually looks like it could hurt me or worse, if I'm not afraid, that's probably not a good thing, because that means I'm not paying attention, or I'm not just taking the time to really break everything down. So for me, I think the fear 100% just make sure it puts me in a position to make sure I'm making the best decision possible, because we are in an extreme sport where things can happen. And
Yeah.
I would be very scared for myself if I started to not be scared on 100-footers and big whitewater and things like that.
Right. What is your do you have like a mental do you visualize a lot, or do you have some mindset practices that you use, breathing or anything when you're nervous or scared?
Not so much on the breathing side of things and things like that, but I definitely visualize a ton, whether
Yeah.
beforehand, like leading up to things, or in the 10 minutes before, like I just saw the rapid for the first time, something like that. Um, and definitely those bigger things, like something like Cobra and Scotch Drop. I was watching as much content of people running it as possible for
Mm,
a year or two beforehand, and visualizing as much as possible on what the boat would probably do, and constantly trying to figure out, like, if it would work or what could or could not happen. So visualizing is a huge part of me being able to even freestyle, being able to, like, actually wrap my mind around what I'm looking to accomplish. But I also try to, around the whole process, like whether event or waterfalls, and the whole build up to that moment, I'm still getting excited, running around talking to the crew that I'm with, whatever it is, make the whole process fun again, just to make even the build up as enjoyable as possible. So that way that moment becomes even better when it goes well, or it's easier to handle when it doesn't go as well.
yeah. Yeah, that's wild. So you spent like 2 years watching Scott's drop, like different footage. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
2 years or a
yeah,
year?
yeah. It's pretty
Yeah.
much because I ran it for the first
So
time in 2021, and then because when you look at that waterfall, ever since the Cobra Flip really, like, came around, and people started to do it more, which is really like 2020 into 2021, I was like, that just looks like a drop. You would do it, like, it looks like it. the
You're
after I ran it for the I wasn't gonna like really think about that until I'd done it once. But then after I ran it for the first time in 2021, that right after that I was like, okay, I'm gonna start thinking about like the feasibility of it. And over the next few years as the Cobra Flip, a lot more people started to do it. Scott's drop, I think, in the back of everyone's minds, like that. It just looks amazing for it. Whether or not anyone else would do it, I don't know.
yeah,
But
in the back of
uh,
everyone's mind.
no, okay, maybe just mine. Maybe just mine.
I love
Back
it.
of everyone's mind that someone will do it. I don't know how many people were thinking they would want to do it.
Right.
But I spent, yeah, probably about 2 years or at least a year leading up to it when I really
Yeah.
decided if I wanted to, because I really wanted to do a downriver freestyle lap down Little Gorge, but that was obviously going to be the like the main pinnacle of it.
Right.
But even after being there for like 2 hours or whatever it was leading up to it, I realized that I needed to move away from, this big, giant aerial boat disconnected epic cobra flip and instead focus on completing the trip. And I went completing
Mm,
the trick, but it went better than I, could have imagined in that sense. But uh, yeah, I mean, you're still just always adapting when it comes to visualizing for sure.
yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I think it sounds like you have a lot of patience too. So maybe patience is also a superpower of yours. I don't know, but in terms of like the
That you
preparation,
can't ask me that. You have to ask my wife or the
right?
family on that one. Patient when needed to be, but when there's really like nothing I can be doing, I can think of probably a better way to put it. I'm patient when there's absolutely nothing I can be doing, but a lot of the time I feel like there's
It's
something
funny.
I could be doing to make things move faster or something. I
Right. Yeah.
have to say, you have to ask my wife about that one. I'd like to think I'm patient, but I think most people will say you can't sit still. So, or
Right. Got it.
wait a long time. Yeah.
Right. That's funny. Okay. Do you remember when you were your first river run with a spray skirt on? If you're inspired by this conversation and you want to apply mental agility and flow to your own paddling, I've got you. Head to mindbodypaddle.com/free dash offer and grab my free Roll with Anna video series to help you nail your roll on the water and flip the script in your life. You'll also get invites to my free monthly webinars where we go deeper into these skills together. That's mindbodypaddle.com/free dash offer to get the tools and stay connected.
I don't remember it. I know the first river run properly that I did was when I was two down Little Falls on the Potomac, like class two stuff. But it was right before my third birthday or something like that. But that was my first proper river run with the spray skirt. But my dad used to, put me on his lap in the boat and things like that. But that was my
Yeah.
first like proper river run. And I ended up just getting stuck
Okay.
in a lot of little features, and my dad would have to come pull me out. But I don't remember it. The earliest memory I have of doing anything in a kayak is the on the near the Potomac as well. There are canal falls. It's just a canal dam, not quite
Yeah.
vertical drop, but it's I don't know, 8 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet, whatever it is. I did that when I was five. That's probably the earliest memory I have.
Okay. That's funny because I remember being at Wausau,
Yeah.
and this is back when I was competing, and there was a freestyle competition, and I was walking back up the trail, like the Greenway or whatever, with some friends, and you and your dad came down. You were older, like I can't remember how old you were,
8, I think 8.
maybe, and you had
Yeah.
your spray skirt on, and your dad was like over the moon. It was either I thought it was your first because he was like, it's his
That would have
first
been my
spray
first
skirt
combat roller.
run,
Yeah.
and we were like, woohoo, Dane, because everyone was
Yeah.
pumped for you because you're
Yeah.
like, as of course, your family was a staple on. But I just remember how pumped he was, especially, and you looked happy, like stoked, and
I
I
think
I
that was
just
our
bring that
first
up.
combat roll. Sorry,
Maybe
that
it was
was
your first. Maybe
yeah.
that's what it was. Maybe that's what
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, my
Okay, your
first combat
first.
roll because Emily and I learned how to roll right before that, like at Wausau, like the day before, or whatever. And I think that was right on my first combat roll below the big drops. That
Okay,
would have definitely made
yeah,
a lot of sense. It's awesome that you're there.
yeah. I know. I think it's hilarious. It was awesome. So I bring that up because I think, and you mentioned how you've been in a boat since you were young. My sense of y'all is that your dad never pushed you to paddle. It was something that
Mhm.
you all always had a choice. I know Emily has expressed that before.
Mhm.
Did you feel like you came to it like on your own, like you were really excited to start kayaking?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, there's no denying that our lifestyle, moving in RV when we were 4 years old, or when I was 4 years old, living full time for 6 years in an RV, just going wherever my dad wanted to kayak, wherever the family wanted to be, constantly surrounded by kayakers and kayaking, foam boating, playing around the river. It'd be hard not to be intrigued and watching kayak videos the whole time, not watching cartoons as much as stuff, just watching kayak
Right.
videos, like over the head, falling down, all that. But I would say that the situation, it'd be hard not to want to be a kayaker because it just looked awesome. But I think what my dad did, at least for my experience, was he never he pushed us when we when it was time to push us, like to try to learn something new or something that maybe we didn't quite feel comfortable. But he was like, no, no, you can do this. Like he did
Mm,
push us, but he never was like, you need to be a kayaker and that's it. He always just he like it always felt like a choice, but like sounds like Emily said. But what he did was, sure, you can go do something else, but I'm going to make it seem like this is the most fun thing that we could be doing. And this is the most enjoyable thing, whether around the
yeah.
river, on the water, things like that. But if my dad was somebody that, because he's obviously one of the most competitive people we all are. But if
Yeah.
he had made it seem like, because a lot of the year is being around competitions, if he had made it seem like being around competitions wasn't fun, I would have been like, God, this is just they're stressed, everybody's stressed, like why? But instead, my mom collectively as well, they just made it seem like even around the most serious competitions, everything's still just fun. So
Mm,
even in the most serious of times, it hiking just seemed enjoyable, whether a day run or the world championship. So it never had a moment of, man, it just seems like a lot of work or stress, or just
right.
everybody seems to not be enjoying themselves. Dude, like this is, you can go do something else, but this, I'm going to make it seem like this is the most fun you could be having. And we get to do it as a family. And that was
Yeah.
always, a big part of it as well. It was like, yes, you go do whatever you want to do, but this is really, really fun. And we all get to do it together. And,
Yeah.
it wasn't a hard sell because I got to see all the best paddlers, be around my dad and everyone. Everybody's having a great time. I'm foam boating around the river, having the time of my life, go skateboarding when I wanted. Like it was like, this is great.
Yeah.
So it really, and then as soon as I learned a combat role, like you were talking at Wausau, that as soon as it was like over that hump and I started to be able to actually paddle with my dad in more places, it was like, let's just lock in and this is awesome. But
Yeah.
I
That's
even
awesome.
kayaked a lot before that because I would go when I was 2 years old, I guess at the 97, would have been four, but at the 97 World Championships in the Ottawa, I would go to like steal people's boats and try to paddle on features. And then, even before I learned how to roll, I was allowed, I don't understand exactly how the structure worked, but basically people would be like, Dane can go paddling without his skirt because I didn't know
Right.
how to pull my skirt. I could go paddling around the river in my boat and I would surf little waves and things like that. And if I flipped, I would just swim out. But I would try to kayak as much as possible in that sense, at least from my memory and the stories and things. But as soon as I learned how to roll, it was just, obviously being able to kayak way more year round with my dad as much as possible. That's when things really, what else would I want to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think, and I've thought about this a a bunch, like asking you this. I don't know why, but I'm intrigued. Do you think that all of your time spent foam boating as a kid, do you think it helps you see the river in a different way? Because I can remember you at competitions. You would be, as a kid, you would be foam boating, and sometimes Andrew would join you. I think actually,
Yeah,
because he grew up paddling too,
I
and
would force them.
he loves it. So do you think foam boating helps you read water? Or like when you say like, oh yeah, the Cobra flip, I could really see it off of Scott's drop. Do you think that all that foam boating helped you?
Oh, 100%. I mean, even if I like subconsciously, there's probably a lot of things, but I definitely think the foam boating did a lot of things. Well, it was just awesome and so much fun, and I'm so
Yeah.
stoked that even like Andrew and everyone that I kept forcing to come foam boating with me. But I think the couple of the main things that definitely came from foam boating, like playing in the creeks and stuff, a huge part was when you're constantly changing the features and trying to build certain things, you can learn kind of what rocks, like why features are being formed in a certain way. Like you'll through years of kayaking, like actual kayaking, you're gonna learn how to read whitewater and learn like certain features and things like that. But what was really cool about foam boating is by building the features, you actually can see like what is creating it, what certain rocks or these rocks pinched together to do this, or this type of rock makes this wave. And it doesn't always directly translate, but it just gives more insight on when reading a piece of whitewater. Like, if it's more obvious to me. I don't know what it is for everyone else, but it becomes pretty obvious to me when a pour over also has a rock in the backwash or it doesn't. You just kind of, notice the
Mm,
boils acting
right.
differently compared to something like that. So some people might learn that over time. I don't know. But for me, I definitely feel like a lot of being able to read certain whitewater and certain types of whitewater, and maybe a part of some of the challenges that I'm willing to step up to that other people might not feel comfortable is being able to read more of the whitewater and understand why certain things are happening for better or worse. So I definitely think foam boating had a huge part on my ability to. I would say reading whitewater. Reading whitewater is probably the main thing that came from it. And of course, like building a freestyle feature, like I can be like, this is what we need to do to build a good freestyle feature and things like
Yeah.
that. So, but I would say reading whitewater probably has a big impact from foam boating.
Yeah. That's fun. I figured it did, but I was curious on your
Mhm.
thoughts about
Yeah,
it. Yeah. I've never been a big foam boater. In
it's okay.
fact, some of my friends will laugh because I was in Chile and we did a foam boat race and
Okay.
I was like kind of resisting it. I was like, I don't want to make a foam boat. But then once we were all in and we were doing it, I actually FaceTimed Andrew from Chile to see if he had any tips on how to
That's
build the
awesome.
foam boat, and he did, of
Yeah,
course. And
yeah.
he's like, "What are you doing?" But I get competitive. I say that I'm not competitive, but I got really competitive, and my foam boat podiumed twice. Just saying.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. But then it's like you're like, oh, if it didn't go well, you can blame Andrew for the phone boat.
right, right.
So
Yeah, your design sucked.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
all those
funny.
years of kayak design, you still don't know how to make a phone boat.
Oh, right on. Dane, do you have a question for me?
Well, I mean, you've been killing it for a long time, just doing the instruction side of things. I think, I guess one question I have is, do you, because teaching requires a lot of patience and things like that, and you focus hard
Yes.
on that through a lot of things, and you brought a lot of people into the sport. Do you see a lot of people over the years that very clearly came from the classes that you began teaching them, or like a because you've been doing it for so long, is it like very clear, like, oh, I instructed these people and now they're off doing their own kayaking events or adventures or things like that? Do you get to
Yes.
see the impact that you have because you spend so much time teaching that? I think super cool. And that, again, requires a lot of patience. So I hope that you're able to see, down the line, people coming from where you began with them.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, it does take patience and I love it. I love watching folks get better. And I love also being able to watch someone, and it's something that I've developed over the years. People are always like, wow, you can see the littlest things that make the biggest difference. And I
Mhm.
love that. Like, there's something really satisfying about saying, like, try this. I think if you try this, it's going to be a whole new world. And they do. And it's like a whole new world. And they're so excited. And it's like
Yeah.
something clicked for them. And then I'm also grateful. I'm grateful that I've had a lot of women in their 50s, 60s start
Mhm.
kayaking. And like
That's
I had
awesome.
one woman who started in her late 50s, early 60s as a beginner. And within six years, I think she was in my Creek Week, which is class three,
Wow.
4. And she was doing like she was having a blast.
That's awesome.
And yeah. And then what I also love is that folks will meet on my trips, like whether it's a trip to Costa Rica or Creek Week or Find Your Flow or whatever program, and they make friendships. And then they're like, oh, they organize a trip for themselves somewhere and they're like going all
Right.
over the place and doing different things together. And so building community is super cool because I really want to create a space where people can show up as they are. As I mentioned earlier, like everyone's different. Like we need you like to be doing like the cutting edge stuff. And then we need great instructors and great coaches and great junior programs for freestyle, and great all the things,
Mhm.
and the people like Andrew's dad, who's 76 or 78 maybe, and he's still running the upper golly, and
Wow.
like just from like I just think, again, yeah, the sport encompasses many, and then there's like folks reaching out to underserved communities. There's just so much,
That's
right?
awesome.
And I think that all of us finding what we're passionate about is super great. Yeah, thanks. All
And
right.
then when they podium, you get to be like, oh yeah, you guys, I did that. You're welcome. You don't have to get the stress yourself. You just get to take the credit when they
Right.
do it.
Well, you know what I enjoyed at the World Championships in oh my gosh, come on, in
Columbus,
yes, thank
Spain.
you, in
Okay, yeah.
Columbus. I loved announcing on the live web stream. That was so fun. It's just so fun to
Hmm.
be around the the competition. So just since we're on that, where do you see, like, I saw at the national championships this past weekend actually, and it was cool to see a post your dad made of all of you and the family who
Hmm.
medaled, which was really
Yeah.
cool. And it looked like the junior um, divisions were pretty strong. It seemed like there
Hmm.
were a lot of people or kids. Um, are you hoping that freestyle keeps, because it seems to come and go. It's such a great part of the sport. Do you think it'll be
Hmm.
able to like maintain and get more and more people into it here in the US?
I think, I mean, in the end, like you said, yeah, all the juniors at both the men and women at nationals were super strong in some of the more exciting finals, and it was super fun to watch. I think that the freestyle will always have a place in it, and it doesn't. It's and it not only has a place, but it actually I think is a really important foundation of the skills required to uh, for any aspect of kayaking you want to pursue. I think that a big part right now is for between the idea of, for less people, it feels less of a necessity to like, you know, to do freestyle, whether that's just the way you kind of started, but like so many of the world's best paddlers come from freestyle, whether it's, my dad, Nick, Evan Garcia won 2007 World Championship, Daniel and Gerd used to be some of the top freestyle paddlers. Gerd got fourth at the 2011 World Championships in a hole. And Yol was a 2008 World Cup and phenomenal freestyle paddler. Like freestyle, and you got even like Adrian Matters, like Caleb, like all these, like it doesn't matter who. Like I guarantee you name someone, they're going to be like they came from freestyle, and of course all the OGs as well. And it used to kind of be a lot more 50-50. I think there were more events. I think the big thing is with social media, like for all of its benefits, I think one thing is it's less required to go and have those in-face moments and events. Like it used to be, like if you wanted to, from
Right.
my understanding, used to be if you wanted to, represent a brand, you needed to show up and have that in
Yeah.
person experience. But whether you were that good at freestyle, you still needed to be there to represent. And now with social media, you can go and travel anywhere you want to go and kind of be and still represent your brand, which is great because that provides a huge foundation and platform to do that. But um, but I think what happens is with freestyle, you learn so much that is required. Like I would not be able to do 90% of the things that I do if it wasn't for freestyle, whether it's,
Mm,
just awareness, being upside down and just being upside down more, all the hand
right.
surfing, but more importantly, like understanding features. Like the more features you surf for fun, the more you learn where the best place to get out of features are, or just kind of feeling comfortable in a feature. But then even beyond that, just boat control, body control, like understanding edging and all that. You're not just working your way downstream. You actually have to figure out how the boat behaves and feel more comfortable on edge. And I think a big part about freestyle that really helped when it comes to even the most extreme creaking and things like that is so much of it now, especially with the kayaks that we have, are basically cheat codes at this point. you're so focused on getting from point A to point B. If you ever get stopped, it's just sheer panic. And a lot of people swim in situations that they just don't need to be swimming. It's like you can just surf out
Mhm.
that side of the feature, but they just don't have the experience of being stuck in features. So like, and that comes
Yeah.
back to the preparation thing. Like just surfing featured for fun is how you learn how to get out of things like that when you don't want to be
Ab
in it. And so I think
yeah.
freestyle has so much that it can be applied to any aspect. And even the downriver freestyle, back freewheels, and things like that, I would not be able to have the boat control to do that, or at least the boat control I want to have to do that if it wasn't for freestyle. So for me, I think it's a
Yeah.
very key component, regardless of what aspect of the sport you're pursuing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I started river running and freestyle. I love surfing. I love freestyle. And one time was running Cascades on the Nantahala, and I was being lackadaisical, and I ended up in that terrible hole at the top of, like, at the bottom, like, right
Yeah,
above
yeah,
Kahuna, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And I was like, I cannot get, and like I flipped a couple of times, like I cannot, I'm not going to get out of this. Or
yeah,
that's how I felt. I was in my creek boat and I could see Jason McClure on the side and we made eye contact. And I was like, I'm just going to surf this hole until he throws me a rope. And he threw me a rope and I caught it. I pulled my skirt and held onto the rope and he pendulumed me
yeah.
to the side so I didn't go
Okay,
over Kahuna.
that
My
would not
boat
be fun.
did. But the only reason I could do that is because I've surfed a lot of holes from
Hmm.
freestyle. I know I'm
Hmm.
comfortable. I know I can hold an edge and just hang out. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was my own personal anecdote. And I was so
Nice.
grateful that when we made eye contact,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
knew what
yeah.
he
Instead
was
of
going
swimming
to.
immediately and then swimming over Kahuna, you're like,
Oh
"There's
my
if I
gosh.
work a little bit this way, I got a friend."
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Awesome.
all.
Yeah. Okay, so one last question before we get to the rapid fire, and this is a bit heavier of a question, so feel free to answer it or not. Um, I know you've lost some friends kayaking, and at the same time, it's been like such an important part of your family life. How do you square, or you know, was there anything to square with like losing, for instance, like a really close friend like Bren with your passion for whitewater?
Yeah, I think I've over the years, I've lost dozens of friends, however many through kayaking. Losing somebody through it's like one thing to lose these close friends through other circumstances, but the amount of friends that I've lost through kayaking, whether just people I've known or someone as close as Bren or others, it's very difficult to and Bren actually made a really amazing video on YouTube when we lost um, Robbie a few years ago. That hit
Yeah,
Bren really hard, and he made a really amazing video kind of breaking down like how do you love something so much that takes away these people that we care about. And
yeah.
that even became more relevant when Bren himself passed away. To lose someone that close doing, and again, not doing something that was the most insane thing. It just was. Oh, sorry, I think I cut out.
You just froze for a second.
Yeah.
You're back.
Where did? Um, yeah, I saw it froze, so I just waited for a second. But yeah, so to lose someone like Bren, like that, we thought we were going to be doing this forever. To lose someone that close, doing the sport that you love and push yourself as much as possible, but on top of that, on something that isn't the most insane piece of whitewater, again, goes back to it's always where you least expect it. I'd say the hardest part
Mm,
about that is especially in this place where I am right now, I love going to the Joy kayaking freestyle, but there are still things that I'm trying to push myself or run this harder pieces of whitewater. It is sometimes very difficult to see something like that happen on something where they were just trying to go and have a day run. And that happens a lot in kayaking, unfortunately. But I think the balance that I find is with someone like Bren, like they're it's so cliche and so stupid, but like they're nowhere else that like he was pursuing kayaking, pursuing everything that he wanted. He wanted to do the best for the community, whether the things he was doing for the park jams or the videos he was making, the impact he was having, and everything he was channeling through the sport. You know, it happened during kayaking, but at least I think for some people, I know for me, it'd be harder if someone got taken away doing something that was just stupid. Like it was like completely unrelated. And it was like they didn't even get to be at the place that
right.
with the passion that they love. So for me, I personally, it's just so cliche, but it's kind of, it has some truth to it.
I lost you again.
I know I keep leaving. Sorry.
You're back.
Sorry.
It's
Where
all
did,
good. Yeah, you were
yeah,
saying it'd be worse to lose someone doing
yeah,
something unrelated to kayaking, like
yeah. I
something
think,
random or
yeah, yeah. Like it's just,
yeah,
it's like if that someone was taken away from this life they were building through their passion from something completely unrelated, that'd be harder. Now, I would much prefer to have them with us. It's like there's
of
no
course.
good situation around. There's nothing. It's still one of the hardest things I've gone through. But I think the balance and still feeling like we can get back to it and still continue pushing ourselves and the sport in our own way and run this harder stuff is he loved it. We still love it. We have always been aware of the risk, and we're grateful for the times that we got to have together. And now, moving forward, we will continue to make sure we get the time that we want with our friends and family and continue just to be as safe as possible because, in the end, you know, we try to be as safe as possible. Things can happen, but just try to make the best decision possible, be smart about it, and just get the time together that we can because, again, you just never really know, even in this sport.
Right.
So just try to
Yeah.
get the time with everyone close to us and just make the best decision possible. And yeah, hug your friends.
Hug your friends. That's yep,
Yeah,
exactly. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Okay, are you ready for rapid fire?
sounds great.
Okay. If this episode inspired you, I've got a special listener only offer. Save 25% on any online program for a limited time, including Reboot and Refuel, Mental Agility Mastery, private coaching, and custom video review. Every program is designed to help you paddle past fear, build real confidence, and step boldly into your power, both on the river and in your life. Head to mindbodypaddle.com to learn more and use code FLOW25 at checkout to grab your discount. Let's build courage, confidence, and flow together. What's a morning ritual that sets you up for success?
Editing and looking at kayaking videos.
Okay, awesome.
First,
What's
first
it?
kiss my wife. That should be the first one. Kiss my wife,
Yeah, you
and
have to
then no
think
matter
about
what
that.
happens after, the day's good.
Is she giving you the eye from over there?
No, she's not even in the room.
Okay. What's a non negotiable self care practice?
Not self-care practice.
Yeah.
Um, learn to adapt.
Mm.
Learn
Okay.
to, yeah, like for yourself in situations.
Yeah. Okay. What's your a favorite motivational quote, book, talk, or song?
Well, I don't read, so book is probably not the right one. Song, I just have a wide variety. I guess I kind of like the quote. Now my wife's in the room and she's trying to mouth the quote. I would say actually there's one quote that I always thought was kind of interesting. It's the only one I can remember in my head.
Thanks,
But it was
Chloe.
would you who's the happier person, the one that braved the storm on the sea and made it through, or stayed on shore and merely existed? Like I kind of feel like
Yeah.
that. I always kind of like that one.
Deep. I like it. Thanks. Okay. What do people get wrong about you?
I think one thing sometimes, I was given, an incredible opportunity through my upbringing, my family, with all the opportunities they gave me and things like that. Uh, but I think sometimes misunderstood that I feel like from my own perspective, the things that I have and the opportunities I have now came from what I was given when I was younger, but I work for what I'm able to do now through the editing and the travel, the teaching, whatever it is. I feel like I work to continue to have the opportunities I have and not just and I capitalized and did the best I can to run with the opportunity they gave me.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. Yeah. I think to me, when I look at all the stuff you do, it looks like you work hard and are really passionate about it. Okay. Okay. This question kind of plays into that. Throughout the course of your life, have you felt like the underdog or the favored to win?
um, I never really focused on that. I
Okay.
appreciate whenever there's I definitely never felt like the underdog because I just wanted to do the best I can growing up. Um, and then in terms of there are people that come up and be like, I hope you win. Like I'm grateful for that. And that's awesome in the end, just here to go kayaking and have a great time, but never really focused on that side. But always appreciate when someone, it's like, I hope you win. And I think that's great. I appreciate that.
Right on. Okay, hard moves in easy water or flooding?
Hard moves in easy water or flooding.
Yeah.
Hard moves in easy water.
Okay. What I think you've already described this, but could you describe your comfort zone in one word?
Focus.
Mm, that's good. Okay, freedom through discipline or I do what I want.
Freedom through discipline.
Okay. In one word, what do you hope your legacy will be?
Joy.
Mm, awesome. Is there anything else you want to say to our listeners, Dane?
Oh, this was great. Thanks for having me. Always love the opportunity to get to chat through some kayaking and fun things. And yeah, always appreciate the opportunity just to sit down and have a nice chat.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I appreciate you being here. So
Yeah,
this is great. Appreciate it.
thanks for having me.